Welcome to Birds Play Sports, where we weekly cover Ravens, Orioles news. We're your hosts, TJ and Jared, and we're making this video with some breaking news. The Ravens have officially hired their fourth head coach in team history. Chargers defensive coordinator Jesse Minter. He's going to be our new head coach for the upcoming 2026-2027 season. And to just get this video started, we're going to give our opinions. We're each going to go and just talk about how we expect, how we envision the team moving forward this offseason. So, just to get started with my thoughts, I honestly wanted either him or Kubiak. Those are my two top guys that I was looking at. I'm glad that we didn't go in the direction of getting Cliff Kingsbury or
Might still.
these lesser known guys, like Shield Hassa or whatever is our HC, our head coach. I'm glad we went with somebody that is a little bit more established, has had a chance to get, coaching experience in all three levels. Think he had I'm pretty sure he was with coaching in high school, then he had the collegiate level, and now he's at the NFL level. He was our previous defensive backs coach from like 2017 to 2020. Was a Chargers defensive coordinator just, I think for the past two seasons before this. And
You want me to read off his career history?
yeah, we can read off his career history. Yeah.
All right, so he started his coaching career back in 2006, actually. He was at Notre Dame as a defensive intern, in
Okay.
Cincinnati from 2007 to 2008 as a graduate assistant, Indiana State from 2009 to 2010 as a linebackers coach, Indiana State at 2011 and 2012 as a defensive coordinator, Georgia State from 2013 to 2016 as a defensive coordinator. So he spent a lot of time in college.
Yeah.
Then he came here, Baltimore Ravens defensive assistant from 2017 to 2018. He was here in 2019, actually, assistant defensive backs coach. Then he was a defensive backs coach here in 2020. That's crazy. I totally forgot he was here. He then went to Vanderbilt. He was the defensive coordinator and safeties coach, which that's strange. In 2021, he was the Michigan's defensive coordinator from 2022 to 2023, and he was the Los Angeles Chargers defensive coordinator from 2024 to 2025. And now he is our head coach in his first head coaching gig ever. I don't think he's been in high school. I mean, he could have
Yeah,
been.
he's never been in high school.
It,
That was
it
my
could have
fault.
could have been. It just couldn't mention it. But I think they just wanted to talk about professional levels when that was all in college and NFL.
Yeah, that was my fault. So, he's gotten great experience from college and transitioning to NFL. He's got it. And I'm very excited. If you told me this like maybe a week ago, I'd be like, I don't know. But he's gotten a chance to grow on me. I've, read up about him. I've definitely seen, the Chargers defensive statistics from 2024 and 2025, and they were much better than ours. So, that's one thing I look forward to
I don't know
him
how
doing.
much that's saying. Zach Orr was leading us to Chargers.
Well, I'm looking forward to him changing around that defense, because that's one thing that I mentioned, and we mentioned throughout our videos is we've lost our identity. For all these years, our identity has been defense. And me and you have talked about how we do want the Ravens to sort of, change gears to a more offensive approach. But when you're a Ravens team, you're going to have a good defense. And especially if you want to go far in this league, defense has kind of been what's kind of been hindering us. Their lack of their ability to get turnovers, not making those stops in those crucial moments, and just either starting out flat and can ending the game on the right foot, or vice versa. So we need stability with the defense, and hopefully he'll be that guy with his defensive background to really bring it back. And I just hope on the offensive side of the ball, he can care to sort of break those hardball habits because he is from the hardball coaching tree. So hopefully he can get an OC, and hopefully he himself can be independent in that sense where he'll be willing to, push to go for a guy like George Pickens or, what AJ Brown. I don't expect us to get neither, but still like just have that ambition to do bigger.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about it after you drink that water?
Yeah. I want to clear my throat before I got to talk. But yeah, I think that me and you were just discussing this before the FaceTime call. I mean, before the Zoom call, on FaceTime that you know, our offense was built almost kind of in a strange manner in Lamar's early tenure. It almost
Yeah.
felt like they didn't fully understand what they had in him, as a quarterback. I hope that they understand now. It's been 8 seasons now, so it's kind of getting to the point where it's like you kind of got to start understanding what you have here.
Yeah.
But at least early on in his career, it was very oddly built, but it was almost built in a way to where they needed to just do enough, and then the defense would kind of maybe pick up some slack. That's always been the Ravens thing because I watched a video earlier today about how I believe it was the I forgot which the cornerback was but it was he said he was here in Flacco's second year, and the Ravens defensive players, including like mainly Ray Lewis, had the mentality like, we got to score for the offense at points. The Ravens defense in the past decade can't do that. They weren't physical enough. They weren't, they didn't seem to be disciplined enough at points. I mean, we've had a lot of busted coverages the last 2 seasons. We can't get pressure. There's too many instances where guys are playing, off the line. There's too many guys where guys are taking bad angles. I think we've caused one, and I mean that, one turnover in 8 playoff games for Lamar Jackson. No, two. I'm sorry, two. Yeah, because that's so much better, right? Two turnovers and three if you count, in Lamar era, but he didn't play that game in Cincinnati when Kyle Hamilton forced the fumble on Hayden Hurst, um, in 2022. But so two when he's played, three in the overall era in so 9 playoff games actually. So that's sort of pathetic, So I hope that he can bring back that, hard, defensive mentality. I mean, they held the Patriots offense to 16 points, if I'm not mistaken, in the wild card round. And they scored that touchdown late, so
I think it was 16.
yeah.
I think it was 16. 16-3. The
Yeah, so I, if he views, the offense from the Chargers' perspective, where their offensive line was pretty shitty,
That's
you
some
know,
problems.
yeah, like we need to. Hopefully, he views that as like, oh, if I was in control, I would want it to be different,
Yeah.
So when he comes here, obviously there's no more Falele anymore, thank goodness. But maybe like a guy like Voorhees won't see the field, So hopefully he has an emphasis on the right things. And it's not even just schematically at this point. The Ravens have an issue up here,
Mentally. Yeah.
mentally. They just Lamar Jackson is a reflection of this team when the lights are the brightest. And when he gets all frustrated and when he's throwing his helmet or whatnot, it just feels like that's a reflection of the Ravens as a whole.
Yeah.
And that needs to just be nipped in the bud. Like I hope that Lamar had input, with this. I don't know how much input he had. I don't know if he got on that plane or whatever. I don't know if he was in Baltimore or I guess I know he's Mills, but I don't know if he was here or not. But if he was, and this is the guy he could have he wanted or gave input that he wanted or whatever, then I'm happy with the hires. So I heard some stuff that he wanted Cliff Kingsbury, but that was by I think that was by that Rossini chick. I forgot her name. I heard that she's not as reliable as she
Well,
likes to.
I heard that was for the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, no, no, no. I'm saying
Yeah.
so like I don't know how reliable that is, but um, I came around to it over the last 24 hours. I was kind of pissy about it yesterday. I was like, I'm not feeling it, but I kind of thinking about it. I was telling my mom last night, actually, I believe, like watching the defense, fly around and be physical and have that type of mentality is like fun to watch.
Yeah.
Like, and you're right. These defenses have kind of led the way in this postseason so far. I mean, look at the Bills game. The defense for the Broncos, even though they let up a lot of points, they stole a lot of possessions away from the Bills.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to do. Like sometimes these quarterbacks are going to get theirs. But if you can steal possessions away and give them to your offense, which always happens against us in the postseason, how many times in these games are we losing the turnover battle 3-0? You know, we can't keep losing the turnover battles. And if we do lose the turnover battle, don't make it as big of a deal as the Ravens seem to make it, especially since a lot of these turnovers are early. So hopefully Jesse is not just a good schematic coach, but a good like man-to-man coach as well, I guess you could say. A good leader, I guess you could say, not just a guy who's going to be schematically, in there, like when it comes to offense and defense or whatever, but like actually lead the guys. That you just being schematically smart isn't always going to help, So
Yeah.
if they can lead a group of men and get our heads right, and give Lamar the keys to the team offensively, then we'll roll. But I don't want this guy. I don't want this hire to to kind of lean back on your way you've been doing it lately, which is settling for less for Lamar Jackson the offense. Still go out and find a good offensive coordinator. Maybe it's a guy who's under the radar or whatever, and bring him in. Value and prioritize the offensive line as long as finding weapons for Lamar Jackson, especially established weapons. So I don't want them to think like I've seen a lot of people on Twitter say it like, Lamar can work great with anybody. We don't maybe need to hire the best guy or to get the best guy. Like, no, that's not how this shit works. And that's not how this shit should work. Get Lamar the best coaches, get Lamar the best guys in the field, let him work. Everything else, that's in his hands at this point.
Yeah, and just to kind of touch back on something you mentioned, a little bit earlier about the Chargers offensive line issues. From what I remember, going last offseason going into this season, it was their goal to build a like an elite offensive line behind Amarion Hampton, the rookie running back, and Justin Herbert. And obviously things didn't go as planned with Mekhi Becton. He was like their top free agent signing, and they obviously had guys like Joe Alt and Slater. I think they both got injured. So
Yeah, so it wasn't really their fault, but
yeah,
say like I'll like applaud them for trying.
yeah. So yeah, that's what I was going to get to. Like, I feel like Mentor will, look to create a good offensive line around Lamar. He knows how dangerous he can be, not only in finding guys that are open, but using his legs to get open and make plays. I think that he will look for that. I feel like he's going to keep the same thing in that regard with the offense. Having a ground and pound, rushing attack. Derrick Henry, he's not slowing down. There's no signs of that. I mean, he should have won the rushing title this year. So build a good offensive line in front of those guys, and they'll go wreak havoc. So I think he'll definitely have that mentality. And as far as offensive coordinators and getting the best coaches for Lamar involved, it's looking like Cliff Kingsbury might be the OC. I don't really know other options. There's guys like Shield Hassa, from the Rams. There's Clint Kubiak. I feel like they want to be head coaches. I don't think they want to, go somewhere else just to be an OC. They might as well stay where they are now. They're both on Super Bowl caliber teams.
But
So
the one guy's from the Rams. I think he's only like 30, so he might be too young to be a head coach.
yeah, he might stay and get a couple more years like what Ben Johnson did. He stayed with the Lions for one more year and to get a chip, but they didn't get it. But it looks like Cliff Kingsbury is going to be, the OC of the Ravens. And touching back on what you said about Diana Rossini, I did see that report too. Apparently Lamar's been endorsing for that, and a couple other players they didn't name. Just my quick opinion on that. I mean, again, Cliff wouldn't be my first choice. There's not a lot of choices, unfortunately, this, head coaching cycle, but I wouldn't mind seeing what they come up with this entire offseason. They said Lamar's been really more involved in this, head coaching search, and I'm pretty sure with the offensive coordinator, he'll be just as involved. It'll be important to do that. So hopefully they are been doing that, but I wouldn't mind it. I mean, him and JD5 last season, went to the NFC Championship game and they got smashed. But hopefully that doesn't happen to us. But that was an all-time, team they went up against. So I feel like when you're partnered with an all-time quarterback, like Lamar, you'll get a lot of good greatness out of that. We didn't expect Lamar in his first season with Monken to get an MVP, and then his second season to have like one of the best quarterback seasons ever. So, hopefully if that route is with Kingsbury, that could happen. Getting towards that chip that we've been waiting for. So, I'm willing to see it out. I know that you you don't want Cliff Kingsbury. You kind of feel a little bit like Greg Roman in a sense that his offensive ideas or ideology stall out, but I'm willing to see it out. If we go that route, we just have to see, with time. But do you have any wants for the offensive coordinator, or just if you don't have a specific guy, ideologies at least? What are you
Um,
thinking?
Whoever's gonna run the rock correctly with Derrick Henry, and whoever's gonna put Lamar under center. I'll just say that. Like, not a lot of shotgun stuff. Like, put Lamar under center. I really feel like the Ravens did not utilize Lamar under center as often. Like, I don't know what the obsession was with putting him in shotgun. Like, put him under center. Those play action boots are gonna be fucking lethal with Lamar Jackson when Derrick Henry behind him. So That's all I gotta say. Just get a guy who's gonna do that. So that's my opinion about that.
I'm not gonna lie, me and you should, we should look at some game film and see how much under center Kyler Murray and JD5 were under those Cliff
I
King.
think Cliff Kingsbury is very much of a shotgun offensive coordinator. That's another reason why, like,
I see.
so. But I'm not sure. I'm just that's what I heard. I'm not
Yeah,
that could not be true. So
yeah.
anyway,
Well, me and you, at sometimes we trust the Ravens, at sometimes we don't. But you know, I feel like me and you have kind of came to an agreement in the last 24 hours that we're going to trust that the Ravens made the right decision here with this head coaching hire. We're going to trust that, the experts that they got there in the building and EDC, Sashi Brown, and, even Steve Bisciotti, have all really done their research and really looked into Mentor and, really, fleshed out whether he's good enough for this organization, because we don't expect another losing season. That's not the standard. That's a one and done thing. We're not patient enough to wait 2 or 3 years to get back to where we were in 2023. We need to get back there immediately. And the change needs to start happening now. So hopefully Mentor's up for the task. Hopefully he's ready for that. Hopefully he can just bring in a good offensive coordinator. That's the next step right there, and that's what we're hoping for.
yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna probably share my screen so we can read some quotes from
Let's go.
guys like directly from Mentor. Um, Coach Mentor now Baltimore Ravens. Is my screen sharing by the way?
It's good. Yeah.
All right, good. Let me get this out of the way.
He mentioned the fans.
Steve Mentor says, "Wait, what?
I
Oh,
was saying that Snoop Dogg just
I'm truly honored to serve as the head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. This is an organization whose values, culture, and tradition of excellence reflect everything I believe about the game of football and how it should be played. My family and I are thrilled to join the Ravens flock, and we cannot wait to make the fans, the city of Baltimore, and Maryland proud. Head coach Jesse Minter." That is directly from him. Wonder how long it took them to write that. This is from GM Eric DaCosta. You're next, buddy, if you don't get your shit together.
Oh, you want me to read it? I thought you was just saying I was next reading it.
Oh no, I'm talking about Eric.
Oh,
Eric DaCosta says, "We are thrilled to announce an agreement with Jesse Minter to be the fourth head coach of Baltimore Ravens history. Jesse is a strong leader who possesses a brilliant football mind and a spirit that will resonate with our players and fan base alike. Jesse comes from a football family with success at every level of the sport, and we are confident that he is the right coach to lead the Ravens forward. Congratulations to Jesse and his wife, Rochelle, and the entire Minter family. It's time to get to work." You should be saying that in the mirror. It's time to get to work.
let's go.
There's one last quote. Let me reload here. I think Bisciotti had a quote. Yes, Bisciotti did have a quote. "Jesse was impressive throughout our incredibly tough interview process. He clearly understands the values, high expectations, and history of the Ravens, and he has a great vision for the future." I wonder what his vision for the future is. I wish I was in there, man.
I wish I was flying the wall, to hear
Yeah, I
that.
was gonna say. Jesse's football acumen is outstanding, and that has been proven by the impact he's made throughout his entire coaching career. He is also a leader who will authentically connect with our players and inspire them to championship levels. I want to thank Eric DaCosta, Sashi Brown, and our entire selection committee for the work they poured into this process. It was clear to us that Jesse is a special talent who has what it takes to to lead us as the head coach of the Ravens. I watched Eric worked closely with John Harbaugh for years. It was evident how excited he and Sashi are to now partner with Jesse as our organization strives to chase championships. So, very interested to see. That was a great Photoshop, by the way. I don't know who did that. They had him in Ravens gear. That was a great Photoshop. But yeah, I mean, some positive quotes. Obviously, they're not gonna come in here and say, we didn't want this guy, but we decided to, hire him anyways. Like, that's some owner might do that, but in all seriousness, we'll probably come back on here after the interview, because this is everything like always pretty vague. When a guy is first hired, like you don't know the vision, you don't know the direction he wants to go into, so whenever he does his introductory press conference, it'll probably,
Be
I
tomorrow.
don't, I don't know. It might be tomorrow. It might not be. They might push it back because of the snow, So like, I don't know exactly how that's going to work. Maybe they want to do it tomorrow because of the snow coming this weekend. So, um, it's usually a weekday though. So if I could imagine, it could be next Tuesday or Wednesday. depending on how everything goes. But whenever that comes out, we'll have a breakdown of that. Hopefully, we hear good things coming out of his own, out of his own mouth about the vision of this team. So, I want to hear the things that he was telling them.
Yeah, and in that Steve Bisciotti quote, those last two words, hold a lot of weight. Chasing championships, that's got to be the ultimate vision and goal. And I know it is, but hopefully his method of going about it, aligns with what us Ravens fans have been wanting for and asking all these years. But I'll be excited to watch that interview as well. We'll come back here and recap it. But yeah, I'm content with the hiring. I'm ready for next season. I'm ready just to get back and see what this team is going to do, and see the improvements. I'm really
Yeah.
ready.
I don't know if it'll be immediate. Like, I don't think we'll be back in the AFC Championship game next year, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It
You know,
depends because they got some things to work out, man.
well, I'm just saying in the sense that this team has a semi Super Bowl ready roster. It's a lot of talent. It's a lot of guys that have that pedigree and experience. Not only when it comes to winning personal awards, but even just getting to the playoffs. They just need to finish it out. So, hopefully, he can be the one to sort of put those pieces to the puzzle together and really figure that out. I'm hoping that
Yeah,
really. So
absolutely.
it's really all I got. Any last things you want to add in?
Hopefully, he lasts more than a few years.
Yeah, hopefully he lasts that 5 years that he in the contract he got. But that's all we got for you guys today in this video. Make sure you comment down below. What are your thoughts on the new hiring of Jesse Minter, our new head coach? Was he your first choice as a fan, or was it Kubiak? Just comment it down below. What are your thoughts? What should he do? Let us know. Also, check out our second channel, Casual Cinema. Check out our social medias, our Instagram, our TikTok, and our Twitter. We'll have something on there soon, to just talk about, more in depth about this head coach hiring. And that's all we got for you guys today with Birds Play Sports, and we're out.
Right.